Hello, friends. Today I'm going to share with you a portion of Psalm 78. It's part of a group of psalms that are called maskils. And I wondered, what's that? So I looked it up. One commentator said it's the equivalent of an intellectual kick in the seat of the pants. Not usually my thing. I rather talk about God's mercy and kindness to us, but we'll get around to that too. So let's read the psalm. Give ear, O my people, to my teaching. Incline your ears to the words of my mouth. I will open my mouth in a parable. I will utter dark sayings from of old, things that we have heard and known, that our ancestors have told us. We will not hide them from their children. We will tell them to the coming generation, the glorious deeds of the Lord and his might, and the wonders that he has done. He established a decree in Jacob and appointed a law in Israel, which he commanded our ancestors to teach to the children, that the next generation might know them, the children yet unborn, and rise up and tell them to their children, so that they should set their hope in God and not forget the works of God, but keep his commandments. I think this is a really good psalm for right now, and here's why. Our Christian family is deeply divided, right? Politically, and I'm not going to talk about politics, so don't worry, except to say there's something we're united on, and it's not a good thing, and it's our fear of the election results, for one thing. Some of us fear that if liberals get in office, then it's going to destroy our way of life as Christians, and that they'll do things that many Christians see as evil. And so we have that fear. And others of us have the fear that if the president is reelected, he will do great evil while good people stand by. And we have that fear, right? So we're united in fear. Wow. And I think this psalm, has two thoughts that jumped out at me. One is, hey, remember to talk to your children about the things you've known of God, how God has loved you, how God has been merciful to you, how God has cared for you. And the backdrop of this is the children of Israel wandering in the desert, complaining, wanting to go back to Egypt, and how the water came from the rock to supply their needs. And the other thing that it's talking about here is it talks that we should share our knowledge of God with, when I think children, I think younger generations, because they're watching us. Those of us who are of an age, and if you're 30s and 40s, you're of an age too, not as much as me, but you are. And the younger generation sees how we conduct ourselves, what we see and what we do. And I don't say that to make us feel guilty. But the challenge is to teach them so they can set their hopes on God. But here's the thing. I need to set my hopes on God, and you probably do too. My hope shouldn't be in the outcome of the election and what will happen after that. And I don't think I should be using a lot of prayer time begging and pleading with God for a certain outcome. You might differ with me on that. But instead, I'm going to challenge myself to remember to focus on who I know God to be. I know things experientially, many, many stories of how God has been with me. Some of them are funny. Our family has funny stories. A funny one would be one of our kids when we lived in China. We were in Hong Kong on vacation, really wanted a little panda bear. Now, we had a lot of stuffed animals that we carted to China. Yes, we did. So Daddy said no, with good reason. So, but we got back to China, and a delayed box came from Canonsburg, Pennsylvania, from a church, and it had a huge panda in it that the pastor's family had bought in Disney World and put that child's name on it. And so the joke in our family was, Daddy said no, God said yes. Now that's just a funny thing, and it's about provision of physical things. The greater story that I've known for much of my life has been that God has been with me, and so have his people been. I have a handful of mentors, women who in my teen years and my college years were there for me and who talked to me and who listened to me for hours trying to figure life out. And they taught me so much of God's mercy and God's love by their example. And also God has been with me through trauma. And so I know that God is with me, but I forget when I get busy complaining about what's going on in the world, or, oh, this pandemic is long and I can't see this person, can't see that person. So I challenge us. Let's make a concerted effort to put our hope in God alone, not in what he can do for us, but in who he is. Blessings, my friends.